Last time we caught up with Tony Nicolini in the studio at TheInformer, he was telling us about the Expresso Bar, a new idea that he was going to introduce in the very heart of Albert Park. Well, guess what? He's introduced it. Tony, welcome to TheInformer. It's been quite some time, but we have been interrupted by COVID. When you and I last spoke, we were almost on the cusp of getting this new Expresso Bar, returning you and the family back to your roots in Victoria, and lo and behold, we had disruption galore. But the business is up.
Up and running.
And guess what? There's another COVID cluster, and we're almost going to have another pause.
It'll be temporary.
I'm
forward thinking.
Tell me about this new Expresso Bar, because it's been a joy to go and sample.
Look, very simple. Simple Italian hospitality. We do very few things. We do those few things very well, though. So it's coffee, it's pressed juice, and it's an ancient grain focaccia. It's comfort food, and it's the sort of food that we want to make accessible for people on a daily basis.
But the property in Victoria Avenue at Albert Park is a unique bit of that precinct, because it goes from one street to another street. You have two entrances, yep. a sort of a frontage, yep. and a rear that works and allows the local residents.
One's for the locals, one's for the tourists.
But the locals can actually bring their dogs, their cats, their prams, absolutely. And they don't have to push them through from the front that so many other businesses have to deal with. You guys actually have, as you touched on, your local and your international travel.
We've got incredible local support, but Albert Park being such a lifestyle-driven area.
It is a lifestyle.
So, we've got your cyclists.
It's a village,
cater for,
isn't it? It's
very much a village.
Yep.
So, obviously, the locals are your bread and butter, so you need to cater for them.
Correct.
Cyclists. Yeah. We've got the swimmers, early morning swimmers,
swimmers. Yes. You're only basically a block from the beach, aren't you?
Yes, literally. Literally a block from the beach.
Literally a block from the beach.
We've got every second family in Albert Park, maybe even more, own a dog, own a pet. So we need to make it pet friendly.
How do we know that? It's because we have to avoid all their droppings.
Yes. Well, we'll have a chat to the locals about that, but. Look, making it accessible and user friendly. So the Espresso Bar was born for the locals. So it's our little piazza in Albert Park, and that's what I want it to become.
What many of you may not know is that Tony Nicolini is part of a family that has been steeped in delivering food, beautiful, tasty food, and coffee for a lifetime. Dad was a big part of the pizza scene in Australia. Was one of those brave souls that pushed the envelope and changed the way we ate, and the offerings that were made available.
Well, landed in Melbourne in the 50s.
Yep.
Ended up working at wonderful institutions like Cafe Society, Pellegrini's and Florentino's.
Wow.
So grew up with that
DNA.
With coffee royalty.
Yeah.
Went on to open his first pizzeria on the Gold Coast, and then reverse migrated to Italy. We ended up in Italy on a couple of occasions. Back to Australia in '97, and that's where my personal journey began.
Yeah.
As you know, we established many other little businesses, with DOC being one of them.
And DOC really was thriving and became artisans, and you've now moved it on. Expresso Bar, look, right in the heart of Albert Park. I've very luckily I think read the play very well, in that, no one has a crystal ball. No, but you found the property too, the right sort of property.
That's correct. So, I've changed the structure of my businesses, and this is what's helped me, I guess, cope with COVID.
Yeah, and navigate the waters,
And navigate the waters in our industry. Because they're pretty treacherous waters at the moment.
And coffee costs continue to grow. The ancillary costs that once upon a time were normal and you understood, they all keep rising at a rate that we would not like to see all the time.
Look, it's
and competitive.
Every cost on the P&L has increased.
I bet.
Incredibly over the last.
And
let's say
there
4
are
or 5
would-be's
years.
if there could be's. There are a lot of people out there who think they can make coffee. I mean, when you go overseas, you discover very quickly just how special our coffee experience in Australia is. You go to Sydney, Leichhardt, Bartoluzzi, in Darlow, you don't have a problem. Surrey Hills, anywhere in Sydney that knows coffee, you can get tremendous coffee. You come to Melbourne and the coffee experience again in those selected special spots. And for me, excitingly, more and more baristas who know their craft. But you have some really good ones at your place.
George, it's good that you mentioned that. The barriers to entry are few and far between. I think, though, I'd like to think that things are improving, though.
Yep.
The industry is becoming more specialised.
Yeah.
I think we're at the moment, obviously, with the borders closed, the industry is suffering. We definitely need to open the borders so to bring some more specialised labour in.
Yep. Yep.
But I think we are slowly professionalising the industry.
Yep.
And that's what needs to happen.
I was going to say, you touched on something very important. Shane D'Elia, only the other day, reached out and had to speak to the immigration minister about allowing one of their key chefs, who plays a big part in Bond Street in the city of Maha. And this young man, who's become a critical part of the business, had been told that, your 4 or 5 years are up and you needed to go. Thankfully, they got something done. They managed to get the
common sense.
The immigration minister looked at it and said, "Okay, red tape. We need to fix this," and they did. Do you think there might be an opportunity for some of those things to be done to allow more of the guys that you need, the industry needs, back into, say, Melbourne and to Sydney and to the other cities in Australia?
George, I'd like to think so. I mean, our industry is in desperate need of qualified hospitality workers, workers that will pass on their skills and their, I guess, the love of the industry to young Australians.
I still think hospitality in the hands of someone who breathes it and understands it is very special. When you get service and it's not onerous, it's not heavy-handed, it's done with, just as you make a beautiful coffee, or just as Dad would make a great pizza. It's not done with too many things to spoil the taste. It's the key ingredients and that lovely light touch. When that's done,
hospitality
that is
what
special.
we're talking about, the art of hospitality.
But it's not for everybody.
No, not at all. But sometimes it's not what you see; it's what you don't see. It makes it special.
That's very fair.
So it's about intervening at the right time. It's the balancing the intervention, and obviously reacting to the customer's needs without them even knowing that you're doing it.
That's true. Well, I suppose a good barista is almost like the hairdresser. They become the confessor, the psychologist. You have to read them because you're busy making the coffee, but you know what mood people are in when they arrive in the morning. They're either washed out, they're full of life, they've got no life, they need a swim, or they have just come from the swim, and you've got to try and navigate that in 5-10 minutes before. And the lists today, the queues for coffee in the morning is huge.
Well, it's kind of COVID-proof stuff, number one. Number two, that 3 or 4 minutes in the morning, I think, is it's regenerative. It's restorative. It's that 3 or 4 minutes, that engagement with the staff member, with the barista.
That habit is incredible hard.
It's becoming part of our Australian psyche.
Well, that's right. I mean, before you were born, I can tell you that Australia used to move on tea.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Tea was what it was Australia-wide.
So in Italy we have tea when we are unwell.
That's right. But tea across Australia, I'm old enough to remember a time when coffee only came black and it was delivered in a percolated jar at a place like the Colonial Diner in Sydney, and maybe one other fast food chain which hadn't really even started in Melbourne. I can't remember names in those days. But you'd go and it was there, it was forgotten, no one really sampled it. Unless you went, of course, to Lygon Street, or you went to Leichhardt in Sydney, or you went to Darlow in Sydney, and they were their select Italian eateries, or more importantly, great cafes that knew how to make. They had the equipment, but they also had the art.
Yeah.
And what you've done, I think I can say now, because I've gone in and tested it on a number of occasions, Expresso Bar to me is you're putting your marker back into Vic Ave in a fashion that hasn't been there for quite some time, which is great to see.
It's very simple. I touched on it before. It's not what you see; it's what you don't see. So we've pared back all the layers.
Yep.
So it's a simple operation. It's a two-person operation.
Yep.
It's exceptional food.
Yep.
Done very simply.
Yep.
And obviously very uncomplicated in an uncomplicated fashion. We've made it easy to engage with. And that I think is the trick to navigating the industry at the moment.
Not so much the trick, but the art.
Well,
which we talk about.
Let's not overcomplicate, but yes,
it's the art.
At the moment, what COVID has taught us, or what COVID has done for our industry, is just bring to the surface many of the issues that were simmering there for many years.
Uh-huh.
So let's not. We've underestimated just how complicated it is for operators in our industry. And COVID has brought this to the surface, and we're now talking about it. And in the hope that government may be able to intervene and listen to the plight of many operators, because our industry is dependent on so many things that need now attention. And one is just the workforce. But there are so many other little issues that government needs to listen to if we're to become a real international hospitality destination, which we have the skills, we have the people, we have the product. We just need to make it, I guess, easier to deliver.
Tony Nicolini, the Expresso Bar, it's in Vic Ave in Albert Park. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for giving us a sense of what's going on and the changing times that we live in. And how, if government and others are thinking and listening, let's consider some of those things that you discussed. We need to get more professionals from some of the best hospitality venues in the world come down under and share their knowledge. Thank you, Tony.
With pleasure. Thank you.